Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and we're joined once again by Mark Gonzales over at First National Bullion. And the digital enslavement is coming. We are seeing the end of the dollar as it stands right now. But of course, regardless of whether we shift into BRICS or not, we are going to see the same results. But I do want to point out that the BRICS summit is coming up right away, July 6th to July 7th of 2025. And it's a big year. We can imagine that they're going to be discussing a lot of insane things that are going to be happening with the global economy in the coming years because we're seeing alliances shift. We're seeing power shift. We're seeing 44 countries ready to join the alliance this year. And of course, they're aiming to topple the US dollar with a new currency. They say it does not exist yet, though I question anything that they put out publicly versus what they actually do as far as monetary war. When things go bad, they always have something ready to go. It seems it's always so convenient because they create the problems, come in with the solutions. Every country in the world does. Putin to skip BRICS summit in Brazil over ICC arrest warrants. So we're seeing things come to a point in history that we've never seen before where the Russian president can't go to Brazil because he's thinking that he's going to get arrested for war crimes. And this is happening as Xi Jinping is also not actually attending in person. His delegation will be led by Li Qiang. But of course, it goes on as expected. The reason Xi Jinping says he isn't going there is because India's Modi was offered a state dinner. So there's trouble in paradise, even among the BRICS countries. There's been a lot of back and forth with Modi, whether India is going to push this digital currency or this new world reserve currency or not. But we all know that they have been a litmus test alongside China to bring in the digital system. So they were the first ones to give homeless people bank accounts and demonetize their currency dramatically and try to ban gold several years ago, about a decade ago. So I believe that they are a major player in this agenda. As we see these international concerns over war heat up, which is a great entry point for them. Again, order out of chaos. Don't let a crisis go to waste. To bring in that currency system, Beijing and Moscow double down on propping up Tehran, threatened to give it nukes. Now, Russia has been launching a CBDC for a while and is launching a digital ID super app inspired by Chinese WeChat. WeChat is a social media system that's digital, of course, that is tracking and tracing every person in China. And of course, China is a role model for the Great Reset, says Klaus Schwab, is since the Trilateral Commission back in the 70s, propping it up as the guinea pig state for technocracy. It was always meant to be this way. The West would collapse into the East. It was always part of the plan. But regardless, the dollar or BRICS, we have that digital system coming in. And regardless of either of them, we still have big corporations developing a global digital ID and currency system as X Money, which is owned by Elon Musk, and X, which was just sold to XAI for $33 billion, is tapping episode 6 to power global crypto and fiat payments infrastructure. It's an identification on and off ramp ecosystem, which allows them to basically create a CBDC, which of course then is attached to X, which is being registered as a bank, which is of course a digital ID system complete with social credit built into the algorithm. So my friends, one way or another, we are going into that same system of digital governance. We're going to get into the dangers of this, what we can do about it, and all that right away. But first, I urge everyone watching to go to firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/ and there you could avoid the CBDC system. There you could avoid that digital system by the way that everyone has avoided for the last many millennia, a monetary collapse. And this is how they do it. They collapse the monetary system, then they bring in their new system. This is how you protect yourself. You could buy physical gold, silver, platinum, or palladium. You could put that gold or silver in your hands in a vault or in an IRA outside of the traditional IRA system. Schedule an appointment for a free consultation with Mark Gonzales and a complimentary investors package. Just let him know when you sign up in the comments that you found him at World Alternative Media or WAM, WAM, and make sure you use that exact link because otherwise you'll be sent to someone else. And I want to make sure you work with someone who's awake. Mark, we have this BRICS summit coming up very soon. Very important stuff going on in the global monetary system, whether the dollar survives or we have, most of the world population in BRICS and we have these massive deals made. We are walking into a digital system. Can you kind of break this down for people that don't quite understand the importance of this coming BRICS summit and what it will mean for their money?
Well, it's everything we've been talking about for a very, very long time. And regarding the problem, action, solution, I mean, we're living in this choose your own story book ending uh, type life in the matrix, controlled by those that can actually control the power, control the monetary system, and thus control the government. And what the digital system and the digital ID is going to be, it's going to give the banksters that control the monetary system, that's going to give them control over the fiscal as well. So not only can you be punished in a social credit or now coming carbon credit system, as X is designed to do, as WeChat does, as Russia is now going to be developing that as well. And interestingly enough, this all comes around the same time that what have we been talking about? We've been talking about the ECB saying they're going to have the digital currency system in October. We have the Genius Act, which was just passed here in the United States, and you got 1.3 trillion in the EU for the digital ID program under the spending of surveillance. So here's the thing, folks. I personally believe that this new digital system, once completely ingrained, will then become the only option for you. It's going to run parallel to the current banking system until it's adopted, and all these little nuances of every single country is going to have them. And you're not very far off from that. It's going to start with the West. It's going to move to the other nations down here in Mexico, buying off a little bit more time. So I personally think you're going to get a revaluation of the dollar once this system is put into play. Gold always plays a part in that. But let's say, for an example, the dollar still stands and we just go digital as hell. Well, the only way in a reduced participant treasury market, which has been the case increasingly for the last decade, where just not as many people are showing up with the auction. And pretty soon the lender of last resort, the Federal Reserve, will, in my opinion, one day be the primarily or the majority buyer for this stuff. A higher price gold on the balance sheet of the treasury provides liquidity, because you have a couple buckets. You got the negative and you got the positive, right? So you got all the debt on this side. Well, what assets do you have? The government doesn't produce any assets. It doesn't make any money. It just, it steals, it transfers wealth. So where does gold need to be? Gold needs to be at a much higher value to provide liquidity. Ultimately, that number is above 40% of the default of the monetary base or the restructuring. Even if the U.S. didn't get to that number, say they revalue gold up to 25, 30, 45, $50,000, which could be a possibility, it's going to provide a lot of liquidity. So it doesn't mean that, you have to subscribe to the idea that you're going to have a complete currency revaluation, as I do, because historically that's how it works. You just need to understand that gold is the only true money, and that a higher valuation on a balance sheet is going to extinguish a lot of this debt. I'm going to be real interested to see what happens on the 6th with the BRICS summit, simply because it's been touted thus far and still being presented as what they plan to release is going to be a integral framework of how gold is going to play a role in their currency and the mobility of it. So I'm going to be interested to find that. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, that's something that's interesting about it, is that they're saying they're backing things by gold. I'd love to see the gold. Of course, they're going to get IOU notes on gold, and they're going to put it on a digital system. And of course, it's good for gold's power overall to say, hey, we trust gold so much that we are going to base our whole new system on the idea of people having faith in gold, which of course they should in a crisis. But the thing is, it's not actually going to be. I'd love to see how they actually show us that there's actually gold in any vaults. It's like Fort Knox all over again. Hey, where's the gold? And of course, a lot of that is hoarded in other places. Of course, there's been shortages of gold recently, Mark. But we also have to look at the fact that this has been planned for so long, and that it's this government or that government, or this group of governments, special drawing rights of voting power of this one block over here, or BRICS, this other voting block over here, and their basket of currencies? Or is it going to be a corporation pretending to be private, which is obviously it's going to be run by the shadow state, but part of the same agenda? Again, you have X, which just sold to XAI for $33 billion. They are, of course, integrating that with registering it as a bank. They have a thing on their algorithm on there that says that if you say things that are considered negative, that they won't be seen. Well, how is that going to work out for your social credit score? Because they have given everyone a social credit score on X. That's basically open knowledge. And then they have a digital ID system on there that'll determine who can see you or not. And then if you integrate X Money, which is now working with this other company to create this on-off ramp ecosystem, which will be a payment system globally with fiat and crypto, of course, through KYC. That is the exact same thing that the Federal Reserve is doing right now. Recently, Jerome Powell said that we now are okay with banks using cryptocurrency, which sounds great, except for the fact that it's not decentralized. The whole purpose of cryptocurrency in the first place was to have a decentralized alternative to the banking system. And now they're saying, hey, it's all going to be in your bank account. Trust us to hold it, just like people are trusting them to hold your money, and it's not insured. And they have bail-in rules through Basel III, which we've gone into multiple times. So to me, it just looks like it's beyond a shadow of a doubt, and with the Genius Act as well, with their KYC system, without a shadow of a doubt, they are creating a massive digital control system where it will be inescapable once it's in place. And whether that be a digital dollar, whether that be a digital BRICS world reserve currency, they've come out with their bank notes that they say are there is going to be their new currency. Actually, let me bring that up. There is an image of it, which again, I don't think you're going to be getting much of this paper that Putin is holding in his hand here. I don't think that you're actually going to end up with this. I believe that it will be completely digital. I might be wrong. It might be 99% digital and 1%, cash in circulation to make people feel a bit better. But in an emergency situation, which they are manufacturing as we speak, with Iran, and as we speak with Israel, and as we speak with Lebanon and Yemen and Ukraine and Russia and China and Taiwan and India and Pakistan and Mexico and all these other countries in the world they're trying to create conflict with, then of course it's very easy to bring in under emergency orders this system that Klaus Schwab again said China was the role model for. They had Sesame Credit / social credit back 11, 12 years ago. And now they have it across the board, and the European Union is releasing their CBDC by October at the latest. And of course, all these other countries are following suit. The only countries that don't have CBDCs coming out will be the tiny countries that will be working with other currencies like the US dollar or the BRICS currency and create their own promissory on those notes, like we saw in Zimbabwe with them taking the dollar after hyperinflation. So, Mark, they're creating a lot of crises to go into the system. How dangerous is it for the average person to have their money in the bank and depend on fiat currency when this system is being brought in and enforced on people?
Well, you think of it logically. Okay, so the current banking structure that you have right now is just digits on the screen. The fractional reserve, they only have a really like 10% is what they're supposed to keep on reserves for every dollar lent out. They're not even matching that. And per Basel III in the bail-ins, really, it's not yours anyway. You're a creditor to the system. So if you're going to go from one banking structure to the other, and the current one is completely fraudulent at best, I think people should be very, very fearful, because I've said this numerous times before. At some point, life takes the driver's seat and it'll make those decisions for you. Don't wait till that point to expand, increase, or readjust your portfolio of actual metal, because to metal's point, again, you had record-breaking delivery in both gold and silver, which is something we haven't seen. So,
oh, and by the way, Bank of America just predicted today of $4,000 gold. So, I mean, and I see it going a lot higher than that. But when we have the mainstream financial giants saying that it's going to hit 4,000, we could expect it to do about 10x of that. This isn't investment advice. I think it's wealth insurance, but my point is it's pretty bullish going forward.
Oh, extremely bullish. And again, a higher price on the treasury balance sheet. If the treasury was to mark gold at, let's say, 35,000 at 10x roughly from where we are right now, you're talking trillions in liquidity. Mm-hmm. Right, because now they have the asset or the credit that they can lend or borrow against in the new monetary structure. So it benefits everybody across the board. And to the point, okay, China's going to tell us that the gold's there and do a walkthrough. Bullshit. They're not going to do that. Just no more than we're going to actually get the true information on the audit of the U.S. gold reserves, which will happen, because when you're going to bankrupt one financial structure to usher in a new one, you need to do some sort of accounting to know where the bones are buried, so you know where you're actually discharging in debt. So here's the thing. they say the gold price is this, whether the gold is in Fort Knox or in New York or West Point or in Shanghai, like they say it is, it doesn't matter. It's the price point it is. So if the price point of gold goes to $35,000 or $50,000 an ounce to offset the default or restructure, recharge the balance sheet, for every ounce you have, guess what? You got that. If it goes to $35,000 and you got a 10th ounce, well, now you got $33,500 in a fractional gold. And Graham, you got even less. So you have spendable fractional divisible metal that can keep you on the outskirts of this digital ID system, which is clearly the case in the agenda of what they want. And this goes back, this goes back all the way to the 40s, the 60s, the 70s, the Trilateral Commission, the intent to have that one world structure. So it's here. Does it mean it's happening tomorrow? No. But it's kind of interesting that you get all these current restructuring of the currency systems for central bank digital currency or stable coins here in the US at the simultaneous time that you get investment into the digital ID program, the cancellation or requirement for digital ID or real ID in the States. You don't need it to travel. You can still travel with the passport. So there are obviously workarounds, but as some
passport with digital or with what's it called? Real ID.
Yeah, and then you try to go internationally, you can still opt out of the facial recognition when you're trying to come back into the U.S. or go to another country. I do all the time, but at some point that's just not going to be an option for you. So again, before life dictates what your options are or are not, with gold at just over $3,000, with B of A saying $4,000, and I think that's soft pedaling it. And silver now holding support from Tuesday's pullback yesterday, retested slightly on Friday. Interesting to see where this market's going to go this coming week. But as it inches higher, then boom! If you remember the last run up in from 2008 to 2011, it languished from $15 to $21, which was the breakout point. And once it had that breakout, it went from 21 and change to $50 in the period of 4 months. Except for when we're restructuring the entire financial system with metals being the backbone or foundation of asset to offset that default, you're going to see the stuff go up. And guess what? It's not necessarily just going to come down. So I would be prepared and grow eyes in the back of your head, because at any moment your restrictions are going to be there. Look at what's going over in Spain. I have a client that's trying to sell a house in Barcelona, and she'll be successful. But they're doing restrictions where you have to fill out information to be pre-authorized, kind of like a TSA pre-board or pre-check, to be able to get up to $1,000 out of the bank. So if you don't have this authorization, you're not going to get funds necessarily out of the ATM in larger quantities. Let's say anything above 3 to 4 or 500 equivalent US over in Spain. You're going to have to actually go in the bank and plead your argument to convince them, hey, by the way, it's mine. Can I have it back?
Well, when Klaus Schwab says you will own nothing and you will be happy, first of all, obviously he's wrong with the happy part, unless you're a complete compliant slave. And I know those of you watching are not. But he means you will own nothing. That includes your money. It's not just your house. It's not just your food. It's not just all the things that they'll try to ration to you, utilizing your access to your money. But your money won't be yours. And it already isn't, by the way. If all your money's in the bank, it's not yours. It's the bank's. They give it to you because they allow you a certain allowances of money that you put into the bank as a depositor. And as Mark has mentioned in past videos with this bail-in thing, that they could just basically identify you as a creditor and essentially control you that way and get around a lot of this legalese, because at the end of the day, your money is not yours unless you hold it in your hands. And even if you hold it in your hands when you're using fiat currency, it's basically debt. It's not even money. And therefore, again, that really goes towards that World Economic Forum talking point of you will own nothing and you will be, well, enslaved. And of course, in the future, if you don't have that alternative outside of things, by the way, you could call it black market, but it'll be free market. It's a free market outside of the government control. People will be using it. They will not be able to stop people from using it. If enough of us actually get gold and silver and things like this and back ourselves up for what is to come, then in the worst case scenario, at least we'll be able to actually trade for goods and services and the necessities you need for your family. That's in the worst case scenario. You'll be able to do that. In the best case scenario, you're going to be able to preserve your wealth versus one of the biggest financial calamities in world history and be able to survive you and your family through the Great Reset. That is an incredible thing that's completely priceless, by the way. And I urge people to really take that seriously going forward, because we do like to bring you guys real solutions. That's the most important thing here. We see the writing on the wall. We see the shift into the digital ID system. We see Amazon Pay. We see Episode 6 and X Money. We see the digital ID in Europe and in the UK and in the United States and Canada. We see Russia launching their super app for like a Chinese style WeChat kind of thing. We see that the conflicts around the world are happening in real time. And we see that this big summit is planning to replace the dollar. And what they've always tried to do is set up the system so that they could pull the rug out, and they'll already have a system in place below it and say, look, this is for your safety. Just like they'll say the Patriot Act's for national security reasons, or your censorship is for national security reasons, or you have to wear a mask or else, other people will get sick. They use excuses, and they're always BS. You guys need to actually drop out of that system and get into your own independent sovereign system of financial prosperity going forward. And I urge people, again, very important, go and check that link in the description. firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. It has to be that exact link. And there you can buy that physical gold and silver. There you can avoid the CBDC system and this digital ID system to the best of your ability. It's never going to be 100%, but it's your ability to allow yourself some leeway to actually be free in the face of the reset and not be left behind on the inside looking out. You want to be on the outside looking in and be able to see what's happening, but still have your ability to move freely. And with this, it means no food rations. It means no complete control via the banking system, all these different things that you can solve just by going, and it seems too good to be true, but it's very easy to do. It's just most people don't actually take that step. Schedule an appointment for a free consultation with Mark Gonzales and a complimentary investor package by going to that link in the description. You could buy that gold, silver, have it in your hands if you want, put it in a vault if you want, put it in an IRA. It's your choice going forward, and let him know in the comments of the forum that you found him at World Alternative Media, or WAM, WAM, and share this video around with people who don't want to lose everything, and may not understand the severity of the issue, because it's not about fear mongering. It's about knowing the negatives so that you can make positives out of it. And we have time, just not much. And it's always a ticking clock. And you never know when someone drops a bomb somewhere in the world, everything goes crazy and you end up with emergency orders, and then it could happen overnight. And we've talked about Operation Sandman before, where they could basically just shut down the dollar overnight as well. So, I mean, it is very possible that these things can happen. And when people say, oh, why would they want that? It would cause chaos. That's exactly what they want. Order out of chaos. They want their own system destroyed because they have a backup system, and that backup system will replace that old system. And that backup system means more control by them. So people have to understand, why would they destroy their own system that they built up? All fiat currencies eventually revert to zero. They weaken people with inflation over time. They know eventually that dollar is going to go to nothing. And then eventually they need something to replace it. They're not just going to give up. They're not stupid. They know that their currency system is meant to fail, because it's been meant to impoverish people, push people into drugs, push people into homelessness, push people into owning nothing and being, enslaved. That has been the plan all along. So I hope everyone goes and checks out that link in the description. That's firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/ and go and get prepared today. Mark, any final words as we close this off? I mean, there's so many important things happening in the world, and people have an opportunity to actually save themselves here.
Yeah, no, they absolutely do. I would just encourage, if you've been considering increasing or adjusting or even starting on your metals portfolio, I would encourage you strongly to reach out to me, fill out the information in the link below so we can schedule a time to discuss while time is still on your side and you have the ability to make the decision for yourself. Because at the rate things are coming, and it's in articles and headlines almost daily, if you know how to connect this, going back 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, even 20 years, because it's all relatable. You still have an opportunity. So yeah, I would encourage you, get in touch with me.
Absolutely. Go and check that link in the description, and we'll be back with much more. There's a lot to go into as of recently. I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's a lot of things happening in the world right now, and it's hard to keep up with all of it, but we want to make sure that you guys have as much information as you humanly can so that you guys can make the right choices going forward to save yourself and live prosperously into the future. And I think we will prevail if we just take the right opportunities now and not wait and sit on our hands and say, we'll see what happens, or let's wait and see. Don't do that. We've been seeing that for years, and everyone's way behind on that. Even with everything I try to do, I'm way behind on it. We all could do more. So I appreciate you going into this with us, Mark, and we'll see what happens at this BRICS summit coming up right away, and we'll make sure to report on it as it happens, to tell you about the details of what they've decided for the rest of humanity. So anyway, I appreciate everyone watching. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and Mark Gonzales signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.